Hey there, first grade. How's everybody doing today? And welcome back to another remote learning math lesson with Mr. Renzi. Today, you are going to need one of your math sheets. And today, you're going to need the blank bar graph sheet. It looks like that. And when you find it, in your MathMat resource pack, you're going to place that right there in your sheet protector so that you can practice making a bar graph today as you watch the video. So let's get started as I shrink myself into the corner. Today, we are going to be doing grade 1, lesson 4.6, representing data with a bar graph. So today you will need your blank bar graph MathMat with your sheet protector. Of course, you'll need your marker. And today, when we take a look at something called a bar graph, we need to remember some other important words. The first word is the word data. Some people pronounce this as data. Can be pronounced either way. Tomato, tomato, well, data or data. And I say data. The data is information we collect. So when we collect some information, we're collecting data. And we're going to use it today to make a bar graph. Now, in the past, we've used that data to make a tally chart. And remember that the tally chart was a chart with tally marks showing our data. So let's review the tally chart first, because we're going to need to remember how to read tally marks in order to be able to create a bar graph. Here is a tally chart. The tally chart has a title: Boys and Girls in the Class. That's what our data is about. How many boys are there and how many girls are there? And we had to collect that data. Well, let's see. For our boys, we have some tally marks. And every tally mark represents a boy. Well, if we wanted to count the boys, we can go ahead and count every tally mark. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 tally marks. Now I like to write that number off to the side so that I don't have to go and keep counting it. I now know how many there are for the boys. And then I want to do the same for the girls. Every tally mark for the girls represents one girl. So let's see. We have 5, 10, 15. So I'm going to write 15 tally marks because there's 15 girls. So then when we had our tally chart, we were able to answer some questions. Here's our first question. How many boys are in the class? Well, we go back to our tally chart and we can count up our tally marks again, but if you were a smart mathematician and you wrote the number after you counted it, you now know how many boys there are. There are 10 boys. The next question says, how many girls are in the class? Well, we go back up to our tally chart and we look for the girls. And we had 5, 10, 15. 15 girls. Now, this is the toughest type of a problem that we do in first grade. How many more girls are there than boys? Since there's more girls, how many more girls are there? Well, let's see. These all go together. These would go together. and the girls have some left over. How many more do the girls have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are 5 more girls than there are boys. And we can tell all of that info from our tally chart. Today, we're going to collect some data, and we're going to make a bar graph from the data we collect. So let's take a poll. A poll is when you get to vote. The question is, which superhero power do you want? Now you're going to see some of my Lego superheroes appearing on the screen. And they all have a different power. Some can fly, some can become invisible, and others have really, really super strength. And there's really cool things that you can do with each. Flying can get you anywhere you want. If you're invisible, you can sneak up on people. And if you're really, really strong, you can move mountains. I want you to think about which one of those superpowers you would like best. Would you like to fly? Would you like to be invisible? Or would you like that amazing strength? You can only vote once. So if you raise your hand for fly, you can't vote again. All right, think it over. Here we go. Raise your hand if you want the superhero power of flying. Raise it nice and high. I see 1. I see 2 hands. 3, 4 hands that want to fly. All right. How about invisible? Who wants to be invisible? Raise your hands nice and high. Ooh, I see 1, 2, 3 want to be invisible. And who wants that superhuman strength? Raise your hands. Let's count. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 want to be strong. Awesome job. Thanks for participating. Now, today, we're going to take that information from our tally chart and we're going to make a bar graph. So let me show you what a bar graph is. A bar graph is another way that we can share data. Just like we used a tally chart, we can use a bar graph. Now, when I think of a bar, I think of a Hershey bar, a chocolate bar. But a bar graph doesn't have that much to do with a chocolate bar. However, I will say that when we make a bar graph, we do use bars to show our data. And we don't actually use a chocolate bar, but you're going to see that the bars are going to represent how many voted for each. So let's take our sheet protector and let's get our marker ready, because at the very top, we need to write our title. And our title is going to be called Superhero Powers. So let's write that. Superhero Powers. This is our title. And we're writing that at the very top of our sheet protector. Mr. Renzi's writing pretty good here on the computer today. Superhero Powers. Go ahead and write that title. We need a title so that we know what this is about. If you need more time, you can hit the pause button to copy down the title. Now, we have to label something else. Along the side of my bar graph, I have some numbers. These numbers represent the kids that voted. So I have to make sure that we know what these numbers represent. These numbers represent you, the kids. So let's write kids on the side. Now you might want to turn your sheet protector sideways so that you can write the word kids. Because that is how those numbers represent the kids. How many voted for each. Again, you can hit the pause button if you need more time to copy down the word kids. Now, we still have to do some more labeling. At the very bottom of our bar graph, you're going to see 3 lines. That's because there were 3 choices to vote. We're going to write what each choice was. So some of you voted for the superhero power of flying. So let's write the word fly on that very first line at the bottom of our sheet protector. That was our first choice. Our second choice was to be invisible. So we're going to write the word invisible on the second line. Now, when we write the word invisible, we're going to have to write it a little bit small because it's one of those big words. Invisible. You can't be seen. And the final choice that we had was to have that strength. So we're going to just write the word strong. We want to be strong. So it's important for us to label our bar graph so that we know what the information is about. Now, if you need more time copying that down, hit that pause button so that you can copy down all of our pieces of information. All right, now we're going to go back to our tally chart. We need to figure out how many kids voted to fly. Well, to fly, we had 1, 2, 3, 4 kids. So watch what we do on our bar graph. On our bar graph, we start where the word fly is. And we start at the bottom, which represents 0. Because 4 kids voted for fly, I'm going to color in 4 of my boxes. There's the first box. You can see the number 1. Here comes box 2. You can see the number 2. Here comes box 3. You can see the number 3. And here is box 4. You can even see the number 4. Now I always start at the bottom and I climb up. 1, 2, 3, 4 voted for the superhero power of flying. So go ahead and color in 4 bars above the fly. Now, we're on to invisible. Let's go and see. Invisible was 1, 2, 3. 3 votes for invisible. So now I'm going to head to my bar graph. I'm going to find where invisible is now. And I'm going to color in 3 of my bars. 1, 2, 3. Notice if I am at the top of my invisible bar, it reaches the number 3. Wow! I use different colors because I like to get fancy. And now we're on strong. So let's see how many voted for strong. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now we're going to go to our bar graph. We're going to find strong. And this time we're going to color in 6 of our bars above strong. So go ahead and color in 6 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I know it's 6 because at the very top line, it takes me to the 6. Or I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And again, I used a different color just to make it look pretty. Now, I can answer some questions looking at my bar graph. When I look at my bar graph, I'm able to tell how many kids voted to fly. I can count 1, 2, 3, 4 voted to fly. And then I can look to see how many voted to be invisible. I can count the bars above it. 1, 2, 3 voted to be invisible. And the same thing with strong. How many students voted to be strong? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I can even go to the very top of the bar. And I can go across, and there's the number 6. Now, I can give you some harder questions like this one. How many students voted to fly and to be strong in all? Now we have to look at 2 of our groups. To fly and to be strong. How many voted for both in all? Well, 4 for fly and 6 for strong. 4 plus 6. Friends of 10. I could count every bar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And the other big question is, how many more? How many more means we have to look at 2 of our bars. How many more students voted to fly than to be invisible? Well, that's like saying, how much taller is our fly bar? Look at that. 1 more student voted to fly instead of to be invisible. Sometimes that can be a little bit tricky, but we just want to see how much taller our fly votes were than the invisible votes. Wow! Today we learned about a bar graph. We learned how to collect some data, we learned how to make a tally chart, and then we learned to take that tally chart and create our very own bar graph about superhero powers. Today in Seesaw, you're going to get a chance to practice some bar graphs. You're going to practice reading some and making some. And I can't wait to see how smart you are.